Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Wow, what a week. I hope you're enjoying yourself wherever you are, if it's sunny or not. I'm based in Manchester, and we've actually had some sun for the last 2 days, and then thunderstorms. So, yeah, wicked. So, yeah, this is our 18th broadcast, I do believe. So, if you're new to this, stick around. I'll explain what's going on. And if you're not new to this, thanks for returning and coming back. And yeah, we've got a great show for you tonight. We've got something a little bit different because we've got our special guest is actually going to do a unique performance for us. I say unique, it's exclusive. It's going to be available nowhere else unless he distributes it somewhere else. So yes, I'm Simon, Ableton certified trainer and producer and one half of Lostlight. So on my other camera here, let's see if this works. Boom. Who's this fella here? You don't know, do you? Let's let you know who he is. Oh, what's this now? Oh, it's Tim Isherwood. It should say Tim from Lostlight, shouldn't it, really? Can you be heard, Tim?
Tim Isherwood, producer-songwriter from Lostlight. It's all right.
No, it should be Tim from Lostlight all the time.
Just Tim from Lostlight.
Yeah.
Like it's a middle and a surname.
Oh, yeah, all names.
All names.
Yeah,
I got caught in that thunderstorm, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah. I was out probably about 3/4 of a mile away from home with the dogs, and it absolutely drenched.
And did you have the correct attire, Tim?
No coats, nothing. In fact, I was wearing just a plain black T-shirt like this.
But not the same T-shirt.
Wet through. Wasn't the same T-shirt.
Oh, well, that's all right then. Well, anyway.
I'd be smelling a bit damp by now, wouldn't I?
You know, these things happen. So, for those people who've never seen this before, oh, wow. Quickly, go somewhere else and do something better. I'm only joking. And so, the idea of this show is called Making Music, and with Simon, Ableton certified trainer, and Tim from Lostlight. We make music together, and we just thought, you know what? Let's just make this little journey that we're doing and have a bit of fun on the way, have some special guests, and you know, for some of the people who are tuning in regularly, you know, they use Ableton Live, which is what we use, and that's why we're on the Ableton Live certified trainers channel, and also now on Facebook, and what's the other one? Twitch. Only joking. So you know, it's, if you do discover this and you didn't, how did I get onto this? Just subscribe to any of the channels that we're on, and they should be listed in places, and Tim will put them in the chat room on YouTube and stuff like that. So, okay, so Tim,
go on.
We've got FOTN, Photon, on the show.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring him on a bit earlier because we've got an exclusive live performance, which is nice. It's the first time we've tried it, and we want other people who would like to do an exclusive performance for us. So you can either record it and then send it to us, and then we can play that. So you don't have to do the pressure of totally doing it live. That's entirely up to you. And then we can have a chat with you, and you can tell us what you're doing and what your plans are. You know, and just spread the love, you know, see what's going on.
Sounds like a marvellous idea to me.
Yeah. So if you want in, you can get a message to us, and you can either do it via the YouTube channel or Simon at simonlyonmusic.com. But if you just go to my website, which is simonlyonmusic.com,
it's got contact form.
There's a contact form right there. That's probably the best way.
And it would make really good use of that contact form.
An actual contact form. I'm going to have a contact form so I can contact people. Anyway, so we're not going to dive into loads of music stuff that we normally do. But I will show you. I mentioned to Tim before, he said, what you've been doing. And I made a track with Neil before. Now, Neil's our friend who's going to have an operation next week to have a disc inserted into his neck, which is absolutely nuts.
Yes.
And he's being very brave. If it was me, I'd be running the other way, to be honest.
Yeah, he's handling it very well, isn't he?
He's doing it very well, yeah. So, and so this project that we're going to work on is the DJ Breakneck project. His words, not mine. And we just sort of jammed on things, and to be quite truthful, as opposed to telling you absolute lies, well, how to do that. We used loads of the things that we've talked about on this show, like using loop masters, grouping things, all kinds of. Go on.
I've ended up signing up for a monthly. My free allowance of points on loop masters wasn't enough, so I've got like a regular income in. It's all totting up. I'll be able to go crazy next month.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, I did a bit of that, and I just did some stuff. So, do you want me to play a little bit, Tim? Just because I was doing a layout for him, and I sent it across to him. So it's a bit rough, but you know, you just get the idea. And it does sound like a million things you've heard, but not quite. So I've got a limiter on the master. So I'll just play you whatever it started off. So lots of resampling like this. Do you like it already?
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
I'm imagining Neil in the room going, yeah, I'm having time, yeah. A bit more of that.
You can't talk when the bass comes in, though. Is it working?
Yeah, I'm having that, definitely.
Oh, I've just realised your I think your banner was still up for ages. You know,
we're shit at this, aren't we?
So it's just like, Tim Isherwood. It's all Tim Isherwood.
Just so that you don't forget.
Yeah, it's Tim in the building. So yeah, that was it.
No, it's cracking that.
Does it sound like anything? Because to me, it's just like sounds like we've ripped a few things off, but it all came out organically.
You got MHO saying jungle, yay.
Okay, so well, it's on a 150, which like you know, Tom, like Sublab, revealing all the secrets. No, I'm joking. So there you go. Can we hear it? Yeah.
Well, what were you going to say? Are you talking about BPM with jungle?
Yeah, so I'm doing a track with Ton, and that's 140 BPM, which kind of like that jungle 140 thing, always in and out of people's lives. But yeah, that's 150, just because we were listening to some like really, really hanging dubstep, and it was 75 BPM. So I thought, double timed it, 150. So the first thing that we came up with was like, you can see I've used the drum channel from the Ableton Live template. I always use that drums and double click it. You know, you've got the.
So how did you set about starting the track then, Si? Did you
listen to loads of like stuff, and then we just like, what do we want to do? And it was like, so tempo.
Turned the rig on and made noise.
Yeah. So that was like, I made a quick. So we use the push to get the drum sensitivity. You know, for the repeat, you can see the. You see the velocities, different colours there. Kick, you know, just filled it in, did a usual, well, I say usual, like making a beat on the push where you just use the sequencer. And then I just kept changing the drum kit in and out, you know, so we had the 808, and the 909 sounds pretty good actually. But you got to choose the hi hats and stuff. But
I really like the kick on that.
yeah, I do. Because it needs to be a snappier kick, doesn't it?
Yeah. Especially because you've got those quick repeats of the kick. It's got more clarity with the.
So yeah,
that kick.
I think when we went just from this, it was like, so I needed a bit of like you said, a clickier kick sort of. I always like this one, the slack jaw kick.
I always end up going to that.
Yeah, it's got more of a dirty hip hop thing. So we went with that, and then I think we're jamming on the Moog, and we just got this. Well, it was Neil actually got this. So just this vibe.
I'm laughing because he was sat there doing that last time we had a vocal tracking session. Just sits there playing around with that and the pitch bending wheel, having a great time.
Yeah, and then I just went with some beats that are breaks that I'd found. And then the high end. And then we had this sort of 4/4 bit where it just goes. Which is more like Gesaffelstein or something. Yeah, and then you got. And I've got it so you can, using the Ableton crossfader thing, we could do it between both, that sort of thing. But yeah, just did that, and then we resampled using, inspired by Ned Rush's Tornado video. If you remember that tornado thing, absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, you remember that. Oh, my mouse, I tell you. You know about my mouse.
I know all about your mouse.
See that
your
there?
mice.
Yeah, I think it's done it again, Tim. I've lost the functionality of the left mouse button.
It's always useful, isn't it?
It's just like, really? Why? So, this could be quite interesting. What did I do to fix it before?
We have put all
it's done it.
Shortcuts to test.
Can you hear that there? Yeah. Does all that. Oh, it's off again.
Put it down!
Yeah. So that's what I did. Anyway, so we won't dive into it anymore, but I was just showing you that. And did we call it? I can't see. I'll move the screen out of the way. I think we did actually call it. Oh, right. I thought we called it DJ Breakneck.
DJ Breakneck, yeah.
Because he's...
It's gonna stick that.
Yeah, his choice. So, right, I'll stop the screen share. Go back to Tim and I. So, we started this thing about the music that we all like. And this is anybody who's watching... please do some. He's laughing already.
It's because it's necessary, but we build up to it and then we go. So it is groove appreciation, and then the little banner comes across the bottom.
Yeah, but you know what? I've had some messages saying they like my little groove appreciation font.
Everyone does like it. I like it. It's just fucking funny.
Anyway.
Sorry. Anyway, I stole your thunder.
Well,
build it up.
Anyway, so we had this thing, right? And we thought, wouldn't it be great if every week we looked at a groove, a piece of music that either inspires us, has influenced us, or, and when I say us, I mean you guys as well. I mean, geez, we'd be here all night. We said, what's inspired? We would just keep going and going and going. Maybe that's more like a sort of podcast vibe, isn't it, Tim, Matt?
Yeah.
Where we just talk rubbish about other music that's not our own, whereas this is a bit more of a self-indulgent debacle. Only joking. So, so this is another one that was submitted by one of our users, and for the second week running, this is a young man called Ned from somewhere down south from where we are, and this is a good one, this. Why are you laughing?
So, somewhere in the other half of the country.
Oh, no, I know why that you're laughing, but so this, right, I'll just play it, shall I, and then we'll tell you the backstory. But this is an absolute monster. Now, the rule is when we play it, if it's from a song with vocals in, we stop it before the vocal. We're making it up as we go along, right? And so, you know, that's the vibe. And just to get you in the mood, this is what Tim's talking about. It's time for groove appreciation. And this week, do you know what it is? Do you remember what it's called?
Look at that.
Groove appreciation. In fact, I think I should have it just so it's just me on the screen because...
No, we need to get Ned to do another theme tune for it.
Well, you have to ask him.
Or we'll have to get another...
Or anyone who wants to jump on.
Yeah. Anyone that wants to come up with a theme tune for Groove Appreciation
that's clearly
to go with a marvellous banner, then, yeah, please do.
Right. We're gonna have to move on because Dave's gonna be here in a bit and he's just thinking what are these guys on about. So this is The Amazing Chameleon by Herbie Hancock, and it goes like this. Yeah. Go on, Tim. Spit some bars. Yeah. Groove appreciation across the nation. Yeah. Oh, guitar, left speaker. And we could just let it go on forever because there's no vocals in it. So theoretically, we just keep going, yeah. And like that, we're there. Mr. Fletcher, a.k.a. Photon, is in the house. So, nice one, Ned, for that suggestion. It's an absolute monster of a groove.
Ned says he's up for the theme tune for Groove Appreciation as well.
Who is?
Ned.
Oh, yeah, because, you know, our northern tones get so boring when you're listening to things like that. And we will be using what's on Simon's browser shortly. So Dave is waiting for us, and we're going to play one of his videos. Now, this is on his YouTube page. He's done lots of stuff. He's got lots of gear, some great ideas, some nice cameras, nice vibe of his music. We'll dig into what it's all about shortly. Now, this is a quick one now. So this is from one of David's sound flight sessions. This is on his YouTube. So let this play, and after it finishes, David's going to be here and showing you some great stuff. He's got some really cool stuff to show us. So here we go. So this is from Sound Flight Sessions number 27 on his YouTube channel. Yes, we've got Photon in the house. Big hand, woo! Yes,
Hello,
mate.
You all right?
David, a.k.a. Photon. How you doing, man?
Good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh,
My pleasure, mate.
So I was getting some feedback from the actual live transmission then. But, yeah, good to have you on. So, obviously, you've met Tim now. And we're doing this program called Making Music. And we do this pretty much every week with the odd gap for holidays and craziness. But yeah, it's all about making music and the process, and you just so happen to use the amazing Ableton Live 11. Just stumbled upon it one day, yeah, and you're like, hey, I'll use this. So yeah, it's great to have you on, and you're the first person on the show after 18 shows. We're going to have an exclusive performance. Now, this is something we've always wanted to do, and David's going to be our first one. And you got a performance for us, about 10, 11 minutes long, using some of your gear. So just before we jump into that one, we just played a video then, which was from your Soundflight session. So just tell us what was happening there. We've already had some comments about that, saying you used to need a wall of equipment to use that. And on your right-hand side is a wall of equipment. So tell us why you were doing these things as well, and a little bit about how you put it together.
Yeah, so the Soundflight sessions is basically just like it was originally supposed to be a monthly podcast / radio show, but it's basically whenever I've got time to do one.
Oh yeah,
and a load of tunes that are ready to get played. But I mean, I always the kind of like sets I would do is kind of melodic house and techno, progressive house, that type of thing.
Right.
And one of the things that would always take me ages to find is a good intro tune. Occasionally there'd be something perfect that you want to play to begin and set the kind of like theme for the mix. And then I started realizing, why don't I just make my own?
Yeah.
So what I tend to do, especially with the I've been slowly accumulating synths for the last few years. It's a bit of a habit. So what I tend to do is like work backwards. So I might have like the second or third track that I'm thinking of playing, and then I'll be like, right, find the key and start to jam around with elements with like the synths and the push and stuff, and I'll come up with a few bits and bobs, and then I'll kind of deconstruct it in reverse.
Yeah.
So it creates the intro, and that way the intro is perfectly kind of in tune with the first track. So it actually, funnily enough, the live performance was one of those intro tunes from a set. It happened to be a track that was just in the same key as this really cool low tempo kind of vocal track. So, but in the end, it's one of those where I'm like, okay, I actually quite like this. So I just turned it into a tune. And then I was like kind of racking my brain as to what to do as a live performance. So I started with that intro tune again.
Yeah.
And then played around with the different synths, and it actually went in a different direction, which is when you mentioned the mood coming in, that was like where it's like turning into another track, which is one of the things that's great that, when you're kind of experimenting around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never know what direction you're going to end up going in. So.
That's wicked. So obviously, I know you've had some of the things we can pick up and as you go through it, but you've had quite a few releases. You've been quite active in DJing for some time, yeah. Which came first, the production or the DJing? Well,
it's weird because like technically DJing. So I got decks when I was 14, back in like '96 or something. But I didn't even know what DJing was. I had like one turntable that had like plus or minus 3% pitch. It wasn't even supposed to be a deck. And then like it was a CD attachment. You don't even remember the Mega Drive. They had an attachment called the Mega CD.
Oh wow!
I would play a CD on that and then try and mix it into a vinyl. And so my only choice was going CD to vinyl, and it had to be within 3% pitch. Otherwise, it isn't going to go.
Limitations.
I didn't even have a mixer. I was like, I plugged it into like an amp, and I had the volume control on the Mega CD was my fader. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just kind of like naturally just discovered DJing independently, even though it's been a thing for like 20 years by that point.
Yeah, but that's
so the kind of day that I got like a matching pair of decks and like a rudimentary mixer, it was like, oh my goodness, this is like game changing. But yeah, it was great. But weirdly, like I think the thing that first inspired me to do music was actually computer games. Weirdly enough, every week I used to have a Commodore 64.
Oh yeah.
And every week you'd get like like the computer magazines would come out on a weekly basis. I can't remember the name of all of them, but there was one called Zap 64.
Zap 64, yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So it came with basically a load of demo games on the front. And my favorite thing in the world, like my nan would bring me the magazine. I couldn't wait to like load it up to hear the music. I wasn't that bothered about the games because some of that old Commodore 64 music was like so good. So yeah, I mean, the new EP that I'm just finishing this weekend is actually called the Commodore EP.
Right. So we're getting some SID chip glitchy things, are we then?
Yeah, well, it was more, I mean, I guess it's more just inspired by the kind of tones kind of like the chords and things rather than necessarily the proper glitchy 8-bit sound, although I do like that as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did a synth jam a couple of years ago. It's on my YouTube where the first 3 tunes are all computer game tracks, but redone with a new outboard gear. So one of them is like a classic from Outrun.
He's just gonna say it's my favorite video game, Magical Sam Shower.
That's what I did.
One?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I know every single note of that in my head. Just
so good, isn't it? Yeah. So I guess it's just kind of inspired by that. So I guess DJing kind of happened first, but it was just really, I just always kind of enjoyed that kind of interaction with music, and then obviously it's around like 2001 that I started kind of getting into it a bit more. But back then, you know, my first tracks were made using like a Roland 505 groove box.
Oh yeah.
But eventually, when I got computers, it's almost like I've just learned the hard way. So when I get the actual tools that make it easy, it's even easier. So when I first got a set of Technics decks, it was like, oh, mixing is just a piece of cake. And then when you go from decks to CDJs, I'm like, is this even mixing anymore? So now, like, I don't know. So it's
felt like you were cheating.
Yeah. And then the same with like production. Eventually, when I started with like Pro Tools and, you know, using like outboard gear and trying to program a track on a 505 root box. It's just a headache. I managed to do it, but it's just so much harder than it necessarily needed to be. So eventually, when Ableton came along, I did check. I've got my notes here. Ableton Live 3 was when I got involved.
No
2004.
Way. 2004, yeah.
So really adapted.
I'm just really pleased that you brought notes.
Yeah.
If you watched our previous episodes, we don't have very many notes.
Yeah. You're saying that, Tim, but it's a precise operation, mate.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So I was DJing with like decks and a laptop and tractor DJ. Up until about 2004-ish. And eventually, as soon as I got into Ableton, I just moved across. Because it was always like, even with decks, I'd use like 3 Technics decks and a sampler, one of those cycloops samplers to keep loops going.
Yeah.
But you know, there's only so much you can do. And, you know, there's always the kind of mixing I like to do are quite creative mixes. So where you combining tracks and doing key mixes and long transitions. And then, you know, introducing things from tracks that you're going to play. But trying to do that on like decks is a nightmare. And one of my biggest bugbears was like, you'd have 2 tracks that are perfectly in the same key. You know in your head they're going to mix, but one's about 2% faster than the other, so it's out of key.
Yeah,
it's a nightmare. So obviously, like, going digital was definitely like the way to go for me. So I was playing around with, I just used Ableton for like years, and then eventually I got just sick of having to watermark hundreds of tunes. So I thought, I'll go the CDJ route, because most clubs have decks, and so I had CDJs for a couple of years, but I was still using Ableton. I was linking to the record box, so I found a way of doing record box sync.
Oh, Ambi showed us that. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But in the end, every time I'd go to play out, they'd have like wonky decks, or they weren't like linked properly, and I'd end up just bringing my decks, and I thought, what am I doing? So in the end, I sold my decks, and then I got a custom built MIDI controller instead. And then,
So that's quite recently, that, isn't it?
Yeah,
You've done that.
This year, yeah.
Right.
Because the problem is, what I found is all the kind of like DJ MIDI controllers that are out in the market, they're just like toys. You know, they're just very plasticky, and they just don't have that kind of rugged, like nice feel to them when compared to like, you know, a Pioneer mixer. But they're still dear. I like the push. I think the very first Mark 1 APC was nice.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Compared to the new APC, which is just like,
yeah, it's just totally different. I mean, the first one was like, it was like alloy, wasn't it? It was like some metal in there somewhere.
And it had that feel to it. Where so the one I've got built is got that nice big knobs and stuff. So
Wicked.
And then because so now it's like a hybrid DJ setup. So I'll show you later, but basically I have 4 tracks for playing tunes, like effects in each one, and then 4 tracks for live synths. So I'll play the synths using the push, and I'll obviously all my tracks are warp marked and key analyzed. So I can just play everything in key using the push, whatever is being played. So playing synth lines over the top of things using synths as effects,
Right, okay.
playing samples, and I've been using a lot of the. I was using splitter.
Yeah.
Trap vocals. I've got a slightly better one called. It's a paid software called Extract Stems. It lets you de-bleed it a little bit better. But yeah, my favorite in the world is if I find a vocal track's got an instrumental that's released as well, I'm straight on that. I'm extracting the vocals from it immediately because it's my favorite thing is to like play like vocals but a lot of the times when you're playing acapellas, a lot of the acapellas are a particular type of music. So for me, it's nice to be able to extract elements from tracks that have just come out there in my kind of wheelhouse, and then start to integrate them into my sets. It's just kind of confusing for people because they think it's a new remix. Maybe I've asked people. I've commented in my Soundflight sessions, where can I get this version? I'm like, God, I did it live. It's like a one-off.
Well, that's how it starts, isn't it? That's just using different flavors, like a wonderful audio chef. But just while you mentioned that, because you mentioned push being the hub. Now the performance that we're going to show, are you using the push to play the synthesizers that you've got to your right there? Yeah. So we're going to play the performance, and then you can, if we've got any questions from our audience, they can ask you stuff, or we're going to ask you stuff as well. And then you can talk us through a little bit about what you're using there, because I know you've got a Moog vibe going on. You got all sorts going on there, haven't you? So
yeah, I can give you a rundown of the gear afterwards if you like.
Yeah.
And you'll from the video. I mean, I've got a little launch pad as well. It's on my desk. But otherwise, I mean, I don't actually look at the screen. With the push and the launch pad going.
That's awesome.
I use my main iMac, which is just on the desk, and I just leave it there. So it is. It's one of the things. It really genuinely makes it into like a live tool where you don't need to be clicking anything.
Right, brilliant. So that live is like the hub then, like the Matrix kind of thing, a Matrix thing. Exactly. Wicked. Well, let's do this then. Let's jump straight in. So, this doesn't have a title other than exclusive. Galactic. Okay. Oh, right. No, is this similar to one of the tracks that you mentioned before that's on your YouTube? The intro thing. All makes sense now. Okay. So we're going to leave this performance now, and then when we come back, David's going to break down what he's doing, and we'll share all his website and social media and stuff like that, so you can check out even more. So Galactic, this is an exclusive performance for the Making Music show. You are here right now, and this is the only place it can be seen, unless David chooses to release it on his YouTube later. But, it's up to him. I think he's going to do a different one, different twist. So, for now, here we go. And this is Galactic FOTN exclusive. Well, I've got many questions. First
Cool.
of all, big up our
Yeah.
first exclusive performance. Woo woo for making music.
Marvellous that, mate.
Yeah, really cool. So, I've got some questions. Tim, have you
Yep.
got some questions?
Yes.
We ask the questions, don't we? So, right, first of all, I kind of asked this before anyway as well. And it's, so you're using the push, which is obviously the physical extension of live.
Yeah.
And you're using that to control the synths. Is that right? Yeah, you're actually playing the synths via MIDI.
Yep.
Doing that. So what synths have you got in there? I mean, obviously I kind of know some of them and you just told me, but for anybody that's watching, what have you got in there?
There's only one that you can't see that's just out of the side of left field, and that's the Moog Mother 32. That's doing the
Okay.
kind of like the more repetitive kind of like leady thing. And then kind of center stage is the Arturia Micro Freak.
Oh, yeah.
So like I was mentioning, it's basically the best budget synth of all time. I'd recommend everyone get one, just maybe get two, because it's like 200 and something quid. It's
Yeah.
Basically polyphonic. It's got like a bunch of waveforms. They keep updating it with firmware for free. So like since I've had it, they've added a load of new waveforms and the ability to use the headphone port as a vocoder. You know, so they've it's one of those ones where they just keep updating it and it just keeps getting better and better. And for like because it's got basically the way it is, it's a digital synth with a bunch of digital oscillators and wavetables, but it's got an analog filter.
Oh, right.
So it's kind of best of both worlds. And the filter on there, it's one of those ones where you can really smash the resonance and it doesn't drop off volume. They've really kind of like got it spot on. Whereas my Mother 32, like the ladder filter, I think you turn the resonance off and it just goes quiet. So you have to compensate it. So yeah. So that's that, the Arturia. On the left is the Moog Sub 37.
Yeah.
And then what else did I have in there? And then the iPad. So the iPad is running as a send effect. So I can send stuff to the iPad via send and return. And it's actually using the Borderlands Granular app.
Right. Now, this is what I wanted to ask you about.
So basically, you've got two kind of main ways of using Borderlands. You can either import samples and then get them like looping and glitching, or you can just run audio into it, and you can have as many audio streams coming in as you want. So I just picked one big one because it's touch sensitive, so I can literally drag and move around the incoming audio with my hand, and you'll see that in the stream.
Yeah, I couldn't
I've
quite.
got a bunch of I've got these little grain clouds going, and if I move the audio that's being captured in the kind of vicinity of those grain clouds, it starts to affect them, and I can move them away, and then I can move an individual cloud over a bit of audio and then move it back again. And all those movements you can automate as well, so you can get those like. It's even got an accelerometer gravity, so you can even just like drop grains all around. So yeah, I love it on certain things because you can have like. I have it set up so it's linked, so using live link, so it will MIDI sync as well.
Right, okay. So your tempo is locked regardless.
Yeah, tempo's locked, and then the individual grains, you can have them as free running based on time, or you can set the individual grains to be synced, and then you can change the beat division of the sync and the probability of whether or not they'll trigger.
And how are you getting the audio from... Oh, is it going from live into the iPad and then back out again?
Yep, so basically, like, if you follow the signal flow from the push, I press the button on the push, MIDI goes into Ableton, the MIDI goes out of Ableton into the micro feed. Audio goes out of micro feed back into Ableton, and then Ableton sends it from the send and return back out into an interface. I've got the Motu M4. I use that for DJing, but when I'm not DJing, which is over there, I use it as my iPad interface. At some point, I'll get an M2 just for the iPad, so it's just already set up. Because I don't think you can use. There's nothing in the iPad where you can do 2 in, 2 out. I don't think. I guess you can get a adapter, but it's just be the output then. So that's that. And it handily, I can use the Mode 2 as a MIDI interface as well, because I have been using the network MIDI. But it's because I've got a weird router in this studio now. It seems to just not quite like it. So it's just a bit more rock solid having a proper MIDI cable.
Yeah, I just kept having to reconnect using network MIDI. It just loses it.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Yeah, it was my old studio. It was like rock solid. It never disconnected. I'd like leave it to days, forget that it's unplugged in, go about my business, open my iPad, and it's still on. So I don't know why. It's just one of those quirky things. That's just a
quirks.
Miracle it works at all. But yeah, so it just wasn't reliable enough. So, and I think as well, I kind of don't want to get into the habit of using network MIDI if I'm planning on using the iPad out and about, because I guess I'd have to try and join whatever network is in the venue, or try and set up a peer-to-peer network. It's like, nah, I'll just get a MIDI cable. I just don't need that kind of stress.
Minimize the stress,
Yes, we like that. Minimize to maximize. Minimize stress, anyway.
Before we move on, gents, just so that I don't forget this question, David Henkel said, "Who built your controller and what does it do?"
Okay, so I will give it a thorough demonstration of the controller shortly. So basically, it's a company in Argentina called Jaytech. I'll post the link in the chat for you now. So yeah, it was a year of me researching and trying to figure out what's the best option.
Wow.
Because I used to use obviously decks to DJ with, and then I went from like decks to Tractor, and then eventually when I started using Ableton around 2004, it's full Ableton, and it was nice when they brought the first APC Mark I out. It felt like a nice bit of kit. It was really nice to DJ with. But ever since then, it seems to have, like, the market's changed. So MIDI controllers tend to be more budget, trying to be more accessible maybe. They've got lots of good functions, but they just don't feel as nice as what I'm used to, which is like a club mixer, like an Allen and Heath or like a Rain or even a Pioneer. Just solid, nice to work with. So, I mean, I tried using like the Pioneer CDJ as a MIDI controller, but it took me like weeks to program in Max for Live to convert the nonsense MIDI parameters. I don't know. Goodness knows, they'll have like multiple effects. You choose one effect and you decided to use non-registered MIDI. The next one's just 1 to 127. It was baffling. So I had to convert each individual thing. I mean, it kind of worked eventually, but then like the actual visual display units wouldn't react to what was happening in Ableton, so I just gave up. So I sold the Pioneer gear, and I thought, you know what, I'll invest in like a decent MIDI controller. And then I spent like a year trying to find one. There's a lot of like modular things online, but some of them seem like they're just vaporware. I don't know, you can't seem to order them. So in the end, I managed to discover these guys. And basically the way it works is you have like a bunch of modules. So like a row of knobs is one module, a row of small buttons is another one. And you can basically just choose the panel size for the controller, just plonk whichever knobs you want, and then you're good to go. If you like, let me just show you quickly if I share my screen.
Yeah, go for it.
Try and make it a bit bigger because it's more.
Because what we're going to do after this bit, I'm going to show a little bit of your longer set that you've done. The Flight Session 29.
Yeah.
Which I love that. It's a bit harder, isn't it, that one? It goes in a bit. And so we'll play a bit of that, and then after that you can show us how you route the iPad stuff and a bit of this in action.
So this is what this I did a screenshot of the actual, this is what the designer page looks like on their website.
Wow.
So so these are basically it's split into two sections. The left hand side, can you all see me?
Yeah, this is wicked.
Just like to double check. Oops, wrong one. Okay. So so this left hand side, that whole line is one channel for DJing. Yeah. So this is like a multiple effects selector. That's like your effects on and off and dry wet. And these are like parameter 1 and 2. And then you've got a low pass filter and a high pass filter there, and that's the resonance. I think that's a master effects send, that's Q. These are going to be individual track loops, but I need to figure out how to do that in Max for Live, because at the moment the Ableton standard one is just whatever selected loop. So if anyone's got any ideas, let me know. That one for a while. And this is like track select down here. Faders obviously do fading. So that's 4 of the same kind of channel. That's a clip launch pad, which works exactly the same as like an APC or a launch pad or the push. In session mode, this is your knob for navigating, this moving the grid up and down. So that works fine. I had to get some third-party software to figure out how to do that. I'll try and remember what it was. I can pop the links in later. That's the master, volume, booth, Q. So these 4 channels that start here, these are for outboard synths. So I tend to DJ with like my Mother 32, the Arturia, and I think I'm going to add one of my 303s there, and maybe the Sub 37. It depends on how far I'm going and how much I want to set up. But basically, those 4 channels, I can just plug in any synth I want. And like I was saying, like I tend to have all my tunes like warp marked, color coded according to key. So when I'm playing, you'll see my project, everything's just like colored stripes going across.
Excellent.
But so at a glance, I can just chuck something that looks similar colored and it's probably going to be okay. But then looking at the color, I know what key it's in. So then I just set my push to the same key. At the moment, I have been using Live 10 for my DJing just while I've been getting used to Live 11. But I think in Live 11, I should be able, because the key's saved in the clip.
Yeah, you can save that, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that way, all I need to do is select the clip with the push, and then it will just automatically change the key in the push. So that's going to be save me a couple of clicks. So yeah, so that's what that looks like.
Just to ask a quick question there, that I mean, this varies from person to person, but how do you figure out what key a track is in? What do you use?
I use mixed in key.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I've used quite a few different bits. Obviously, when I was using Pioneer, you've got their they've got their own record box analysis, and then Tractor. I've got Tractor as well. They all have a decent guess. They tend not to do too well on anything that's not minor or major. So if anything's Locrian or Dorian, they're like, oh.
Yeah, sure.
To be honest, all I really care is that it's figured out what the root key is, and then
root note. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because some aren't even major or minor, just root notes, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, in melodic techno, it's not that, it's not particularly complicated. It's not like Jacob Collier fusion jazz is like, no. It's like,
Jacob Collier.
Yeah. So, I mean, so it's I mean, I used to actually separate major and minor out. Now I don't even bother, because they're so similar, it's not really worth me stressing about them being slightly different. And you'd be surprised how conservative techno is. Techno and progressive house, like, because when I add in all the tracks, I tend to wait and do all my warp marking as one job lot, because it takes like 2 hours. Because I'm going in, warp marking the stuff, and then coloring everything in one big project. It's huge. I'll do like 300 tracks at once, and it's like you got the keys going across, and it is just like a bell curve. Like everyone does everything in like C minor, G minor, and then like D minor, and then like the ones in the edges like B flat minor is like 1 or 2. So it's just like a bell curve. Everyone's just like, I don't know why, but everyone prefers certain keys. So it's something to kind of bear in mind when you're making tunes for DJs. Like, do you want it to be like in a particular key that you enjoy, or do you want it to be one that's more likely to be in the same key as what most DJs are playing? It's like, it starts to like influence your decision-making process. I tend to just pick one at random, but maybe I should think more about it.
Wow, that's a whole subject right there. So but it's really interesting, and like, because I know some people talk about even tuning kick drums and stuff like that, and that's just like, again, another thing. You know, I know like Deadmau5 had a big rant recently about a kick is a kick.
Like, a kick isn't supposed to be that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, we won't go there. An 808 is 808 though, and you know, and that's in tune.
I do tune my toms. I hope that's acceptable. My toms and clavs and cowbells, and they get tuned.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. Well, what we're gonna do now, I'm gonna play a little bit of your so the one, it's a longer one. This is like front on your website. Just before we do it, actually, we've got this feature called "What's on Simon's Browser," and this week on Simon's Browser is
What's on Simon's Browser.
So you can't hear that on your side, David, but on here we've got your website is on my browser. Now, does it move around? Does it change the front page? Because I'm sure there was something else on the front page. Does the picture change at the top?
No, it's just that. I mean, it might have been that when you opened it up, that the Instagram widget might have just refreshed or something.
Yeah, maybe.
That looks like it's
right. Okay, so you can see this. So anybody's watching who wants to find out a little bit more about Photon, which I'm sure you do, all of the wonderful socials at the top. In fact, it's a good website, mate. I really like what you've done there with the bit of a push. I did that on my website as well. I don't know if I'd use it anymore, but Yeah, did all that. And I like what you've done. You put your name in there. I did that too. I like it. So, yeah, everything's but there. The events. I've not checked events, but I think you've actually got stuff ahead, haven't you? You've got some plans, which we'll talk about shortly. All your tracks and remixes. It's great. Wicked there. And then just a quick jump over to your YouTube. And the video that I'm going to play now is this one, which is Soundflight Sessions, episode 29. So I'm just going to play a little bit of this, but this is great. I mean, it's on for 2 hours, this one. And you did this all in one go, yeah? This is just one straight through. Making great use of the light reaction behind you and everything. So I'm just going to play a bit of this. Check it out, guys. And I'll just play a few minutes. And there's so many good bits. I couldn't pick one. But my favorite is about half an hour in. And yeah, it's awesome.
Bit.
Yeah, it just gets a bit like, yeah. So anyway, I'll let people have a listen to this. So just play the first few minutes, but do check out this whole set. This is really good. So this is Flight Sessions 29, and this is Photon. right, we're back. We're back. So I hope you like that, guys. And the controller that David was talking about was in there, in all its glory, in all its lighting, and all the keys and everything. So that's looking great, mate. That's sounding good, that. And I do recommend you go and check it out, that. It just builds and builds. And like I said, one of my favourite bits. Well, there's a few, but I think about 31 minutes. I was like, yes, mate, that is wicked. And then, you take it up and down. And, yeah, loved it. So, yeah, good stuff, that. So you're going to show us a little bit about the iPad and how you're connecting it. And I know that you were using one that I really like from way back. I've not used it for a while, called Fugue. Is that something you can show us? And just how you're getting stuff in and how you're using it as part of a workflow or something.
Yeah. I mean, the Fugue machine, like, is actually BT. BT, like, just was on, like, I think Sonic State. It's just his favorite free inspirational app. So it might have been an Instagram post. Yeah. Where the Fugue machine was like, it's just one of those things for generating ideas that you wouldn't normally do. Yeah. I was speaking to a mate of mine that's just getting into production, and how, like, you've got an idea and you're just constructing things around your first idea. And I told him, like, okay, try that, but then just ignore the first idea. They just do completely independent things in the same key, because, like, you'll never know how they're going to interact. For me, I can't imagine something until I hear it. When I hear it, I know it's good, but I can't necessarily generate it the first time round. It's getting back. Fugue machines is like another one of those things that you just plonk in a few keys, and then the other playheads do things totally unrelated. But because it's in the same key, and they are obviously similar, it can generate some interesting musical ideas. I have actually got a tune. I should have shared it. It's not finished yet. That was done in Fugue machine. Right. And it literally created the full track, and then I just added loads of strings and synths to it afterwards. If I fish it out, I'll play it to you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, so let me see if I can share my camera.
Yeah, you should be able to. Get rid of us. Just push us to one side.
Ableton push you to one side.
Yeah.
Should have switched on.
Yeah, it should all be grand. Fuji Web. Oh, there we go. Lovely. Oh, we get a glimpse. What have you got there?
Okay.
Lovely. So what's the iPad there? You've got the lightning connection. Is it going into a box, or is that just something on top of the cable?
This thing.
What's that?
It's just a hub. I was using it to charge it at the same time, although I think it's a bit wonky because it kept on glitching out. So I've actually got it unplugged. So now it's just connected to the sound card.
Okay.
So it's running off the battery, but it's just so I could charge it up easily. But yeah, I want to get a decent hub because I need to use the Lightning, the USB-C port to use the sound card, but then there's nowhere to charge it up. So it'll die eventually. It's a pretty good battery, but if it's running an external sound card and using a synth and full brightness, it doesn't last that long. So so that's why that's on there. So let me just get my Ableton on and make sure everything's muted that should be. Let's make sure that's on mute.
Yeah, I'll put me and Tim to one side here, and we'll just have you as the speaker.
Okay, cool, yeah.
So we just view the speaker. There you go.
So am I big now?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got Fugue machine. Cable out of the way. So I've got it set up using an external sound card for just MIDI. It's just a MIDI app at the moment.
Okay.
But it's connected to my network as well, which allows it to use Ableton Link. So the sync information is going via Ableton Link, and it's just sending out MIDI note information. It does have MIDI clock and stuff. I find MIDI clock absolutely hopeless compared to Link. Link's great. Yeah. So basically, yeah, if I press play on Ableton, let's have a look. So I'm going on there. Press play on this, and fingers crossed it should start going. Okay, great. So the other thing I've got going on in fugue machine. Probably not going to be able to see so far away. But it allows you to, each one of these at the bottom is a playhead. Let me zoom in a bit more, see if we can get a bit closer. Just install it. Okay, there we go. So I don't know if you can see that, but at the bottom, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, what are called playheads. Press the little note button, pop, pops up, and it's basically, you can decide whether it goes forward, backwards, forwards and backwards, or backwards and forwards. You can change the tempo, so you can divide the tempo by a fixed amount, or you can multiply the tempo. So it does note values, dotted note values, triplets. You can change where the playhead starts. So by default, it starts there at 1, but you can change it at any point. So that creates kind of like no offsets. Invert, I don't know what that does. I think it swaps the notes where they are in relation to the other ones. Octave does what you think it would do.
Yeah.
Pitch. So pitch is just semitones, but in the settings, you actually specify what key you want it to be in. So the semitones will be constrained by the key that's been set in a similar way to the scalar effect in Ableton. And then velocity, which is quite useful because you can set some of the playheads to do a different velocity. So what I've got, normally, by default, all 4 playheads just go out of one MIDI channel. But I've actually got them set up to MIDI channel 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right. So that means you can bring those playheads into individual tracks in Ableton. I'll do a little demo in a sec with the Spitfire strings that comes with Ableton.
Wicked, right.
Yeah, I thought I'd use the Ableton stuff, the basics that you've got.
Yeah.
I like to experiment, so I might have the Sub 37, which is paraphonic, so I might send 2 playheads to the Sub 37, but then I might send another playhead to one of the other mono synths, and then another playhead to something else, and then you can just swap the MIDI channels around and see how those different playheads interact with one another. It's really cool. It's
let's see it, man. Let's see it.
Let's see if we can get some sounds. All right. Can we hear that? Okay.
Yeah.
So currently, we've got this playhead going along. And then I'll bring in the next playhead. Offsets, some different pitches, some different tempos, and some different directions. Quite quickly, really, the only notes that we've got in are these ones here, and it's the combination of those same notes in different orders, different tempos, different lengths.
Right.
So, generate brand new, unexpected patterns. So that's how it works with kind of like the strings, but it works equally well with like synths. So I've grabbed just 4 wavetables here. Let me just share my screen.
So just you drew those notes in, and then for each MIDI channel, you did one where it was like an octave higher, one it was you changed the pitch to +7, so it's a perfect 5th higher, and then the playheads, you made them start like offset backwards and forwards. So basically, you're really getting the most out of a 6-note sequence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
and you can live transpose it as well.
I was just going to ask you what that was for.
I did try it with this pattern, but it didn't sound so great.
Yeah.
Whereas the one I made using Fugue Machine last time, I had the pattern in, and I actually generated the kind of the feel of the track using the playhead. I do have it in my Instagram somewhere, I think. But yeah, I might post. In fact, yeah, I'll find the Instagram and I'll post it.
Oh yeah, cool.
Just remind me at the end. So let me just quickly share my screen of Ableton just so you can see how good it's set.
Is that link running in the bottom left corner there? Is that the actual tempo in the bottom left?
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Can everyone see my Abletons?
Yeah, looking crisp.
So this is how I got it set up. Spitfire strings. So just there. MIDI channel 1, 2, 3, 4. And obviously set to monitor so we can just hear it coming in. And as you would imagine, you can record the MIDI in, no problem at all. And then combine it if you want afterwards, or keep it separate. Or you could swap this to play all through one MIDI channel and then just capture it as one. I like to keep it separate, and then you can merge it fairly straightforward afterwards.
So obviously, if you press play now, you can solo those and just hear the result of.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, I can do it playhead wise. I mean, I'll play the.
Yeah, I'll split the screen, and so you can see both the iPad and the Ableton. There you go.
So this is I just grabbed just basic wavetable sawtooth, a sine, triangle, and then something a bit weird there.
Yeah, yeah. We lost your mic a little bit there, actually.
All right. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you're not. You can trigger it whenever you want as well. I think it's got some quantize options in there. So yeah. So it's quite cool because you can just start generating new ideas. I mean, I've got that set up with the deep note going to that deep sawtooth.
Right.
But there's nothing stopping you swapping it the other way around. Let's have a play around with the MIDI channels. See if it sounds any different. So let's go 2, 1, 4, 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, just pump the tempo so we can hear it, like, see what it sounds like when it... Because it's all linked up. So you move that on there and it'll change it on live, yeah. What tempo is it? It's
120 now.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. Really good.
So just for idiots like me, essentially what you've done there in changing those channels is you've you've switched which playhead was going through which instrument or channel. Am I right?
That's correct.
Bang on.
Cool. I was just making sure.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I'll be sat here in like 10 minutes and look like an idiot because I don't know what's just gone on.
And we wouldn't want that, Tim, would we?
We wouldn't want that. No.
If you're ever in a situation like that, boys and girls, just put your hand up and ask for help.
Put your hand up. It's okay.
Put your hand. It's quite okay. And we can all follow on. That sounds wicked. That. And I suppose like you're using Wavetable, you could use anything, couldn't you? Really,
Anything.
absolutely.
Yeah, anything you want. So I mean, the track I did before, it was actually a really nice contact piano, I think it was, which was really good. Obviously, it's got some velocity, but it's a velocity per playhead. So for things like piano, it's I'd probably put in the velocity effect, MIDI effect.
Oh yeah,
before, add a bit of extra random variation on a note basis. So
that
cool. Usually helps humanize it a little bit because it is obviously, pretty robotic. I don't know if it's got swing in there actually. Maybe not. I haven't checked. But yeah, it's a cool like pattern idea generator when you're in a creative block.
Definitely. Or even just to try it. I mean,
just for fun. It's just nice to get it going, especially if you. I mean, I've really I've got. I don't know if you've heard of Repro. They've done two amazing emulations of the Prophet 5 and 1.
Right. What for iPad?
No, just as a VST.
Oh right, sorry,
And it's so nice. The pad sounds in there are so epic. So sometimes it's just nice to get like it going. It's really slow with like some nice drones and cool. And every now and then it'll just like the playhead will come back and it'll just trigger an awesome combination that you hadn't considered before. And all you need to do is get it going. Just hit a MIDI track, record, and see what you can come up with.
I was going to say, just recording every time, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, most of the tracks and the riffs that I've kind of used for whether it's been a Lostlight track or some of the remixes I've done recently, I've allowed, devices or random effects to generate and then just found the bits I like. It's just, I recommend that to anyone because you don't just sit there thinking, I'm going to come up with a riff that goes like, and then, a flurry of 16th notes with, swing and a bit of gating or something. You've got to like carve these things out, haven't you? So,
absolutely.
But so is this the what is it called? Borderlands. This one.
Borderlands granular.
Right. Now,
yeah.
This I'm really interested in because like you were describing how you were bringing the sounds into the circle. So this would be ace to see this. This is great.
So you can still see my Ableton screen as well, can you?
Yeah. I've got it so you can see both. So yeah, don't be shy.
Better.
I've got them side by side.
Tell you what, I'll just go a little bit bigger, just to make sure that everyone can see. How's that? I don't need the real estate. Cool.
Yeah.
So
that's perfect.
I've got just a wavetable, sawtooth. I've picked something really simple, just so you can see how much crazy effects you can generate with something quite basic as a starting point.
Yeah.
So what I've got here is my iPad Send. So it's just external effects.
So where's that? Sorry, just wiggle your mouse. We didn't see that. All right, iPad Send. Okay.
I did have it coming back here. That's why I had it as external effects. But what I've done instead, I've got rid of the gain, so it's not actually being returned into the return track. What I've actually got is this. So I've effectively changed the return path from the return and added it as its own channel.
Yeah.
Because then what I've got here is I'm sending the return to the send to create a feedback loop. And on here, I've just got it's just a gain, and I've got a bit of reverb as well. So basically what I call those is like feedback and smear. So as it's feeding back, rather than it just being the exact signal, if I use a bit of the reverb, it kind of makes the feedback circuit have a little bit more of a smeared kind of blurry effect. And then that blurred feedback gets fed back and then processed by Borderlands and then fed back again. I'll show you what it sounds like. What I'll do is I'll just back off the return so you can just hear the Borderlands by itself. I'll just grab this. Which one is it?
Yeah, because you hear reviews for this and some people say, this is worth buying an iPad for. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, that bit is nice.
Oh, we got a note.
See it? See it slowly moving across the screen.
Yeah.
So this is my audio coming in, and as you can see there, you can see the waveform appearing on the borderlands.
Yeah.
Yep. So these little grain kind of clouds, I think they're called clouds, you can double click on them and you've got like the XY settings. So that's like which the surface area that's going to be affected. You've got sync, the timings, the probability that the note's going to get captured. And you can have as many of these grain clouds as you want. But they basically just process the audio that's within the circle.
Right.
I'm sorry, not within the circle, within the XY coordinates. I don't know if you can see that box, but you basically draw a box. So whatever's within that box gets captured, and as the audio comes in, you can see it's on both channels. So it actually captures the left and the right. So you can move a cloud onto the left, and it'll only affect the left part of the signal. Okay. So it's something to bear in mind when you're drawing your XY box to make sure it covers both, or not, depending on what you want to do. So what I've got here is I've got my little, these are like kind of quite small grains, and then I've got this big one down here that I'm going to introduce later. So if I move the audio into the place where the grains are happening. I need to make sure this is good. I just need to restart my sound.
Wow.
Yeah, I was liking the sound of that.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? And yeah, anyone that David's showing us this for a bit, and if you got any questions, if you want to get it in the next 5 minutes, while we're just doing that. But yeah, if any of you guys out there using iPads as well, I mean, I've not done it for a while, but I know that I can't remember what iOS it was. You could plug your iPhone into your laptop or into your computer, and it would recognize it as a an interface, and I was doing all kinds of stuff, and I just thought this is so cool that you can actually use your iPad as a sound source, and you could send MIDI out to it and all sorts. So using things like this is like having a tactile plug-in straight away. So I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's great.
I know it's not quite as user-friendly, but you sent me a load of apps, didn't you, that for your phone that are similar, like Moog emulators and things. That you
they actually were by Moog. There was the Model D, the Model
I've got
15.
that on here as well, yeah.
Yeah, and they just were all free for one day. Just really crazy. They, oh, there you go.
Okay, we're there.
Oh, we're in. Oh, that's naughty. Do that again.
So yeah, I'll grab a bit of audio. And I can move this as it's playing.
Was that a firework? It looked like a firework had gone off. That's cool.
So I can move this over the sound. So I can scrub the audio waveform.
Yeah.
So this is just your standard, using it as a send effect. But when it gets interesting is when we start to feed some of it back into itself.
Yeah.
So boost that up and feedback going. So we can actually get a drone just self-oscillating. So there's no keys being pressed now, and it's just the feedback of board buttons getting louder and louder.
That's cool. So could you put like just a limiter on there so it doesn't go over it? Have you got anything like that in place?
So I've basically got on here, this feedback is just an utility.
Ah,
So
yeah.
it's just a gain there. So we can get it so it doesn't increase too much.
Oh, there you go.
Very cool.
And that's adding the reverb into the chain.
All right.
Just to remember, that started off life as a sawtooth, just initial patch.
Nice.
So you can, it's just with that one effect, you can get absolute crazy soundscapes, which are obviously in the same key, and you can obviously record them in as audio, start stretching them and using them. But I've used granular in loads of things. There isn't anything that comes close to the same kind of like just those perfect crystalline little like bits of audio. So cool. And I've barely touched the surface of what it can do, because you can actually have it so that these trigger when you press them like keys.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that you need to actually have a go, don't you? And just kind of get the fact that it's so tactile. You can
and
have
multi-touch. I think that's the main thing that I've found with iPad apps, is that where I get frustrated is people trying to recreate like a synth interface, so with knobs and faders for an iPad. It's like, no, just this is like one of the apps that's been obviously thought up from the ground up. It's like, okay, I'm not trying to recreate a keyboard or an actual physical piece of hardware with physical knobs. Like you've got like 10 possible like points of contact, so you can use them all at once in a different way. And obviously it's got the accelerometer to use it as well. But I really like it when people use like kind of iPads and mobile devices more creatively, think a bit more out of the box. But yeah, it's a great. I mean, I think I might use it in the DJ setup, because I think it'd make a cool send effect to do wild things with. Yeah, but yeah,
well, you're taking full advantage of the interface as opposed to, like you said, trying to replicate something else that's got its own interface. You might as well make the best of what you've got in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's that. Any questions?
That's cool.
That's very cool, that, mate.
Yeah.
If you can't get inspired for a track using that, then there's something wrong. It's very cool.
But I used it with in one of my tracks. I've got a lot of string elements, and like the high strings and like cellos and the violas and violins. Adding the borderlands, it just created this kind of ethereal, like just magic at the top end. It was amazing. And then mixing it in with I created like I just spent all day creating effects, just lots and lots and lots of audio snippets. And then I would use I'd use different stretching algorithms in Ableton. Yeah. So you can do the click and drag to stretch. So I'd take a very small loop, and then I would pick, say, I think tones, which is the one where you can change like the grain size, and then the other thing I can't remember. Which one it is.
Tones
Flux.
And
flux, is
texture,
it something like that?
Texture.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, I'd stretch it and then change the grain size over time as these things that are already grains being stretched. So it's the kind of textures that you can get are just, there's literally nothing that would create that. And you created it from scratch. It's obviously super unique. But it's still musical, it's not
definitely
noise for the sake of it. It's still like feels like it's part of the track, but it gives it this like just extra magic. Yeah, really like it.
No, that's really, really cool. That it's just, I think I'm gonna have to stock up on my iPad app, because I've tried stuff over the years. I thought I had Fugue, the one you showed before, Fugue Machine.
Yeah.
But I don't seem to find it on my. I don't know how I don't have it anymore, but. Maybe what version is it up to now? Has it updated a lot, or has it been the same for a few years?
I've only got it a couple of years ago, or a year or so ago.
It looks similar.
Yeah, cool. I mean, if it's not on your device, it might be worth just checking your app store.
Yeah, I might still have it.
It might be in there. If you bought it, it'll be in your app store.
Yeah.
Just go in the thing, click on the bit that says "not on my iPad," and it might be there.
Yes.
I've forgotten. I've almost rebought stuff there. It's like you've already got it. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
okay.
You just download it. Yes, I've got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome. Yeah. So we're obviously we're gonna run out of time soon because I've got to take my dog for a walk. But just going back to your website there, and I know that you said you had some things coming up. So what's next for you? What's as you know, either as performing or production? What's next?
Flip your camera back if you can, David.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, we'll...
so we can see you.
See my expressions.
Otherwise, we'll forget and think we're talking to an iPad.
Yeah, we are talking to the iPad. Yeah, I was playing around with the... to make it... Because I've got, like, the Zoom bit, and we record the Zoom screen. I used to think, like, oh, who wants to see that? But it means it can be really flexible and show that, and... I mix that obviously with other things, but it's working. So yeah, what's coming up for you in the next up until the end of the year sort of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, music wise, production wise, I've finished an EP, just scouting for labels at the moment, and I've got another EP this weekend that I'm working with a friend of mine. He runs he's got a label, and he runs a night in Manchester called Nebula Sounds.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so we've been doing some stuff together. That's the Commodore EP I was telling you about.
Yes, I'll check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually did the artwork by using a Commodore 64 emulator, and I typed the track names into code into the Commodore emulator. So
as you do,
so, as you do. Pure authenticity.
Yeah,
I really had an idea of doing like a music video using like the Commodore 64 cassette tape. And I'll put our artwork on the tape and then press play and it'll load up. But I think I should just stick to making tunes. I get all these like wild ideas and I have to like scale it back.
Well, we're a bit like that sometimes, aren't we, Tim? And we've definitely adopted a DIY mentality, which I mean, you've adopted it to make your controller and outsourced, you know, all the bits,
website, logo, fonts.
Yeah, you know what? We like that. I think it's this sort of era of authenticity that Tim and I are always talking about, where if people can see where it's come from, it's kind of cool. Then if you've made it yourself and it's not perfect, but I mean, you know, everything.
It's when it's trying to be
good.
It's when you're trying to make it something that it's not, and people can see through it these days because they've got such a wealth of information at the fingertips, and yeah.
So all is looking good, including your light that's been changing colour throughout. Yeah. That's good. That's good. I mean, we've had the same light scheme here, so you know we can't do that. So yeah, so you've got productions coming up. What about getting out there and playing? What's your take? What's your current situation on all that?
Yeah, I mean, got a gig in the diary in Manchester and South. So it's going to be playing with Trick and Inelia. So Trick's signed to big labels like Innovisions, and Inelia's like blowing up at the moment. He's got quite a good Circle set on YouTube at the moment. If you want to check that out, I don't know if you're familiar with like Circle. It's like they do cool live performance recordings. So there's like Solomon ones and.
Oh right, yeah, Solomon.
Yeah, they normally got like drones flying away everywhere. It's great. Yeah, they just like film gigs, but they tend to be my kind of music. It's up my street. So and he's signed to like Afterlife, Taylor Buzz's label and stuff. So it should be really good.
Yeah,
fingers crossed. That's end of October. And then basically, so once I've finished this music, August is going to be a bit more of a chill. Just work on some of the other projects that were kind of fallen by the wayside because I've really wanted to get these two big jobs done. So it's just required a few like long days, lots of coffee, Monster energy drinks. But they're nearly done.
Surely
now, so
you don't drink Monster energy drinks. You've got quite a health regimen, haven't you?
I do.
I never thought I'd hear you say that.
I do. Basically, the health regimen is, I think, to deal with the consequences of drinking Monsters all day.
There you go. Oh, there you go. A chink in your armour there, mate. You've revealed it. Monster energy drinks.
Monsters, Dark Thunders. Aldi do a rock knockoff version called Dark Thunder. That's pretty good.
Dark Thunder.
Dark Thunder. Yeah. And then we get some from like My Protein, like the supplement. They do these like pre-workout energy drinks. So I'll have a pre-workout energy drink before I start music. So it's kind of a workout. So I justify it somehow.
Well, there's a lot of neurons firing there for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of photons.
And a lot of photons, yeah, exactly. I take a bunch of nootropics sometimes to get me through the day. So yeah.
Wicked. Well, mate, it's been so good having you on, and not
Pleasure,
once,
mate.
not once have I mentioned that David also runs the Manchester Ableton user group, and we're about to kick that back off again. So, if you're in the Manchester area or even in the northwest of England, hopefully do something extending on what you've done today as well and share with it. But if you're watching this and you're in the northwest, do follow the Facebook page for the Manchester Ableton group, and yeah, you'll be seeing David Photon again, and all sorts of things planned. Yeah, we've got lots of things lined up, so do come and join that community. I did share this on the Manchester page, whether it actually was live on the Facebook thing, but people can watch it back anyway. So do drop any comments and any questions. And again, if you want to ask anything that you want me to pass on to David, or you can go to his website, which is djphoton.com. And we have put that in the chat. We'll put it in again. Put it in again.
Yep, put it again.
Just to say. But yeah, so thanks for coming on. It's been great, insightful. Yep. We know a lot more than we did before, which is always a good thing when we have these shows. And just to be completely self-indulgent, Tim, I'm going to play one of our tracks as an outro.
Why not?
Because we're preparing this for live, and it's totally different to do it live. But this is our video. We did this over lockdown last year, and this is one of ours called Lamp. Now, we did. I'll just tell you really quickly, David. This was actually originally started from a sample of a lamp at the side of my bed. That when you
said lamb. I thought
lamp,
this is going to be curious.
Lamp. Yeah, L-A-M-P. It's got the P on the end, which yeah, we may just like emphasize all the P's all the way through it. Lamp. Yeah.
If you'd heard the song first, you might. One of my bugbears in the vocal delivery is that even though we were focusing on it, the P in the lamp is not there enough. So if you'd heard the song first, you would have thought we were singing about lamp, maybe.
Although this particular video is a lyric video as well, so
Yeah.
there's lyrics in it. So yeah, so this came from a lamp at the side of my bed, and you had to flick it on, and then it was when Live 10 came out, I think, when I first did this idea, and I heard it and thought, right, I'm going to make a track just from one sample, just because I've got all these new features coming on that I'm going to be demoing. I'm going to really take my own advice and minimize to maximize. So I got so far with this track, and it was all right, and then we incorporated. Tim heard it and said, I want to make that into a track, so we put guitars and stuff on it. So yeah, we'll leave you with this one.
As we do.
As we do. So thanks for coming out. Check out Photon stuff there. You've got all the links in there. We'll also put them as part of the description of the video in YouTube. So thanks for joining us, regulars and you new people. Thanks for coming along. And this is something that me and Tim did last year, and this is called Lamp. And it's part of a 3-track EP we put out last year on Spotify and Apple Music and all those. You can find it, and Tim will chuck
Put the links in.
He'll put another link in there. It's like the link supplier. So thanks again, David.
Thanks, David.
You were great. There's some great stuff there. And yeah, and for those people watching it back on the replay, we usually hear 7:30 BST, which is every Wednesday. So do join. We've got more to come. And thanks, David, as well, for our first ever live performance. And it was great, man. Really, really good. So yeah, I'm trying to get my mouse back onto the main screen, and we'll leave you with this one. And this is Lamp by Lostlight. Cheers, guys.
See you guys.